Hello, good afternoon, folks. How is it going today? It is October 15th, Thursday. It's about 2 in the afternoon, East Coast time. Um, I just want to say a couple of things. One is that I too am really sick of the runaround that everybody's getting with the Kylie Rodney case. A lot of channels are talking about other cases, and as I've said before, that's totally cool by me. I, however, am sticking with this one um, for a lot of reasons and a lot of personal reasons. So, I do know a fair amount about law enforcement. My grandfather was a colonel in the Army for 30 years, he worked in the Pentagon. I've got other family members that are first responders and in military positions. I would share with you the information, but if I told you, I'd have to kill you, right? um, Dereliction of duty. That's a huge, huge issue for anybody that works in law enforcement. Dereliction of duty is not only an embarrassment, it's something that you can be charged with legally. So, examples of dereliction of duty would be ignoring a 911 call, not taking somebody's witness statement seriously, failure to search an area effectively. Right now, we are just over 2 weeks away from the date that we've been given, November 1st, as a potential date where we'll get follow-up information from law enforcement of the status of this case. I'm not holding my breath, okay? It could happen before then, it could happen after then, it could just never happen. I mean, who knows? We don't know. What we do know is what we have so far. And one of the things that I think a lot of creators have been doing throughout this case, and it's a good time to do it some more, is to review what we have. We only have a couple of press conferences. We only have a couple of press release statements from the authorities. So last night or yesterday, CNY did a 3-hour live covering. I think she was just covering the one from the 11th, but maybe I missed something. There was one from the 11th and one from the 22nd. So the 22nd was obviously the day after she was recovered, if you want to call it that. Man, I just can't believe how they flipped that vehicle over with her in it under the water. It's so disgusting. And it's a dereliction of duty. Absolutely. These people should be charged. These people should absolutely be charged. And for all I know, they are being charged. It's just that the case is building. So good morning. Good morning. Yes, good afternoon. It's already 12:30 here. So one of the things that they've been so flip-floppy on for the whole Kylie Rodney investigation, in my opinion, and everything I say is my opinion only, sheerly speculation for the sake of conversation, opening up a discussion, and hopefully entertainment and education, right? So the issue of the Amber Alert. So they didn't do an Amber Alert because they said they didn't know that she was abducted. But then on the 11th, so she went missing on the 6th. That was when the report was made from Lindsay to first responders, 5 o'clock on Saturday, the 6th of August. So 5 days later, when they did a press conference, they said that that they were treating it as an abduction. So they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. They're saying that they had no evidence it was an abduction. They're saying that they were treating it as an abduction. They're saying that FBI was involved because it could have been an abduction, but yet there was no Amber Alert, or there was a Amber Alert. These people. When this first happened, I had full faith in this law enforcement agency. I thought, my God, they're right there on the border. They're right off of a major interstate. They're right by Reno. I'm sure they deal with big crime all the time and they know how to handle themselves. And then information came out about the Placer County Sheriff. Not thrilled. I think I'm actually going to reread the affidavit because it was my fourth video that I made and it hasn't been viewed that much. And I don't know. I just thought maybe doing that again might be something helpful. But it's funny too, because the third video I made has like 20,000 views. So close to 20,000. I think it's close to 19. So anyway, there are a few things I wanted to go over with you guys right now. A couple of real important points are that law enforcement said they had videotape of a fight. They said this in the press conference on August 11th. They said, we have videotape of a fight from the party. Did anybody else hear that? And they said that the Homeland Security was being removed, but not the FBI. Another huge, humongous issue for me personally, because I do have firefighters in my family as well. They said that California Fire was on the case with them from the gate, from the outset. So they were saying this on August 11th. Okay, if California Fire was there, wouldn't they be thinking, hey, let's look at our freaking videotape that points this direction? I'm so sick of the whole videotape argument. I mean, I was kind of annoyed with it from the beginning. I think because I recognized it for being a backup to this crazy ass Megan story that isn't even her story. It's some mystery woman's story whose English is her second language. Come on, people. Like, if she has a story, we don't care if English is her second language. She can come and tell her story. It's important if she has a story. So, another thing I wanted to touch base on about dereliction of duty is that in these first responder positions, you have zero margin of error, correct? You have public safety, you have life and death in your hands. You have to be able to respond and react in a split second, not even a second, a millisecond. And you have to be taking in information. You cannot believe what people tell you when you're a first responder and you get a call. You can't believe what people tell you because you don't know if they're trying to be misleading. You also don't know if they have the full story. And even if they think they have the full story, you're the professional, okay? I'm going to just calm down for a second because as you can see, I'm really worked up. So one of the things I wanted to discuss is how Kate made a comment on something that Jagger posted the day before yesterday, where he was pissed off with Adventures with Purpose again for rescuing or recovering some other family's loved one over the weekend. I think it was in Vermont or something. But anyway, so Jagger took it upon himself to get on social media and criticize their crew. Doug, I think, posted something super funny, like, thank you, Jagger, once again for your support or something really, really pertinent like that. So Kate Cuneo made a comment where she said, I wrote it down here. I read it to you earlier. Let's see. Where did I have it? The tow truck driver's story isn't true. You know that, right? So she put that on his social media in the comment section. The tow truck driver's story isn't true. You know that. right? How would Kate know that? Why would Kate think that she would know whether his story is true or not? Unless she has some all knowing, all seeing eyes, or I don't know. My guess is she's lying. My guess is that it's possible that it was her that made the call, that introduced herself to Nick, the roadside assistance guy, as Kylie. And the boy that was with her, the young man that was with her, was not Jagger. And that's why she said that to him. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not all knowing. I have a lot of questions, right? Um anyway, I just thought of that one. Like why would Kate think that she knows everything that happened? Just like how would Jagger think he knows everything that happened? He made some crazy statements about what did happen and what didn't happen when he supposedly was not there. So these kids, they're just all over the place. One of the things I wanted to say about Kylie that I think is really cute, excuse me, hold on, is just her living out there in the woods, in the forest, in the high Sierra mountaintop, and kind of how similar she is to some of these Disney characters like Snow White or what was it, Ella Enchanted. It's just her and the snow and the lodge and her music and some birds and some deer and the dog and you know, um, because I always get this sense of like a damsel in distress. I mean, that's pretty much the stories that capture the national attention, like Gabby Petito. Um, the damsel in distress is something that many of us kind of have ingrained to want to come to the rescue. And especially when they're really easy on the eyes, right? It's just easy to pay attention. It's sad that if they're not so easy on the eyes, they don't get as much attention. And that's wrong, in my opinion, but it's also just the way it is. So I think it's important to pay attention to the damsels that are in distress. Most of them are white. Most of them are very slender and attractive. And that is not to say that the people that aren't white or aren't slender or aren't attractive are less important. It's just to say, in my opinion, what we're dealing with is violence against women. We're dealing with misogyny, and it needs to stop. So if we just focus on this one or that one, it's better than not focusing at all. And hopefully we'll get somewhere with it. So I have said this so many times, but not lately. One of the dangers that Gabby Petito, Kylie Rodney, and Shanann Watts all put themselves in my opinion, is that they all got together with dudes whose leagues they were way out of. And then when these dudes had issues, they had to kill them. Possibly. We don't know so much with the current one. We know with Gabby. We know with Shanann Watts. And it may or may not be part of the story here with Kylie. My suspicion from the outset was that it has something to do with it. Why was Jagger not her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, then boyfriend, on and off again boyfriend? Then we find out that he's sleeping with Kate. Then we find out that that's been going on for a long time. Then we find out that they move in with Kylie's mother and stepdad. So, I don't like to question people's integrity when we don't know. What information we have does allow us to legally question people's integrity, okay? It's not slander, it's not libel if you have reason to believe it's true. And if you're not intentionally making shit up, right? So Jagger's story has changed several times. even the part about that Kylie is his girlfriend, not his girlfriend, yes, his girlfriend, no, ex. Um, it's back and forth. And that kind of ambivalence is uncomfortable. When you're living in an ambivalent situation, when you don't know if you're somebody's significant other because you're on again, off again. CNY family, I have been told to keep the car running for an hour or more. Um, Doug says run it for 20 minutes with deep cycle charger. Okay. Tony Devin Nellis says, really, I'll take your word, the CNY family. I was just speaking from my experience. I know that whole thing is so interesting about the car, the battery, the charging it. I get back to kind of the brass tacks of what Nick, the roadside assistance guy, said to Adventures with Purpose is all verified by his dash cam footage and by other electronic data. I have never heard anything from anyone that it's been debunked. I have only heard that it's been reaffirmed again and again. So that information there, as far as Nick being accurate or not, will probably become public information at least when the case wraps up, but hopefully before then. But we'll see. Kate texting Jagger or messaging him in the comment section saying, you know, that what Nick said isn't true, right? That shows, to me, it demonstrates her insecurity and wanting to make Jagger think something that, like, how would Jagger know that that's not true? How would Kate know that that's not true? It's a weird question, and it's very weird that she put it out there on social media for the public to see. Like, okay. So, I don't know if you guys have paid attention to the license plate of Kylie's CRV. It's weird. It's really weird. Her license plate is or was Y. I'm sorry, it starts with an 8. 8 YUR 127. A couple of people, myself being one of the couple of people, has pointed out that it's 8 your 127. 127 supposedly is like the most spiritual number in the world if you Google it. I mean, I didn't know this. I saw a different creator covering that and I Googled it and I was like, wow, interesting. Okay. So is it just some bizarre coincidence that her license plate says 8 YUR 127? And as I was just about to start this tape, I thought of something brand new that nobody has said yet that I know of. And I'm just like, how did I not think of that? How has anybody not thought of this? November 1st, I keep talking about the ski season starting and the election coming up. It's the day after Halloween. If we're dealing with community stuff here, that's a big day. That's a really big day. Halloween is, and the day after. So how bizarre that law enforcement just happened to pick that day when it was 9 weeks out when they selected it to say, well, we're not going to have anything for you until November 1st. And right there, that was a huge red flag to me. Like, how would they know they're going to have something in 9 weeks? And the norm would be to say, like, we won't have complete autopsy toxicology report for 6 weeks roughly. And they can always give preliminary information. They know the preliminary information of toxicology and autopsy reports pretty quick. They know it pretty quick. It's not confirmed until it's confirmed, and that does take several weeks for tests to come back. But for them to give themselves 9 weeks before they let out a scotch of information, it's a funny word, I know. A scooch. So not one picture, not one video of Kylie at this party. Not one picture, not one video of anybody at this party. This alleged party, as I like to call it. Come on, people. Come on, come on, come on. The one photo that started circulating like day one was that weird picture. Everybody's kind of lined up and it looks like they might be looking at some headlights off in the yonder. And there's what looks like a long sleeve white shirt wadded up in the foreground. And everybody's wearing hoodies. There's two girls dressed exactly alike, like black shirts, black pants, and white socks and white shoes that come up to the exact same height. And they both have long blonde hair, just like Kylie. And I think that Sammy tried to say that one of those two girls was Kylie when she first released that photograph. Mm, 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 mm. Why did she say that she wasn't going to go off to college? She was going to defer her enrollment until Kylie was found. And then the second Kylie was found, she starts making videotapes of herself partying and living it up and so happy. And she goes off to college and she continues this. And my guess is the answer to that question, one of the answers, is for money. I don't know how all that stuff works. I don't even know how YouTube works as far as that goes. So I believe that they do like Instagram and TikTok. And I believe if you get X amount of likes, X amount of views, you get money. So I would imagine people like Sammy Smith and Jagger Westfall, when they post something, that they're getting a lot of views because of their involvement in Kylie's situation. Those words are Jagger's words about those people having involvement in Kylie's situation. He actually spoke those words. Involvement in Kylie's situation. He was referring to himself and he was referring to this tight circle of friends. Was that a brain leak? Slip of the tongue? Okay, so my guess is that they're not just doing it for the attention, that maybe they're hoping to get money so they can buy more drugs. Funny, not funny. Okay. So August 15th, the reward money for finding Kylie or information leading to finding Kylie was about $50,000, I think. And somebody donated $25,000 to the fund that day, August 15th. And then we all know 5 days later, August 20th was when, actually, no, August 19th, 4 days later, it was Friday night, that the mom kind of reversed the GoFundMe account. She changed the wording from the reward going to find Kylie to the money going to help the family. So essentially, she took the reward money down when they knew that Adventure with Purpose was in town, because they came into town Friday night. They went out to Boca and Donner and Stampede on Saturday, and then Sunday they went out to Prosser. And it's so ridiculous. We've got Nevada County, we got Placer County, we got Prosser Lake. It's hard to keep track of all these names, but when they went out there to Prosser Lake and they found the car with Kylie in it, it's always been my sense that they were being as polite as they could about the egg on the face for law enforcement that said that they'd been searching there every day for 2 weeks and found nothing. They said that the car was 55 feet out in the water from the shoreline. They said that the car was 14 feet deep in the water. They said that the car was 300 yards from the party. And they said it took them 35 minutes to find it. I think I said this in the videotape earlier today. From the time that they pulled up, if you have a stamp of that time to the time that they knew for a fact it was Kylie's car was probably 35 minutes. Once they got there and got their equipment into the water and turned it on, it was probably more like 10 minutes until they found her car with her in it. Um, and all of the information, like the 55 feet out, like that's not a very long distance, but I'm pretty sure that they were being really generous with that distance. Just like saying that the car was below 14 feet of water is also being very generous because the car stands close to 7 feet tall. And the water was crystal clear. The water there is pretty much always crystal clear. But then, people that were there, like the people that work for the sheriff's department, are like, oh, it's muddy. Dodging Bullets says, hey, Justice A to Z, hello, hearts, hearts, hearts. Thank you. I would love to just like read all of these while I'm talking, but then I'm not going over my notes. And, I'm always trying to make sure I don't go on for too long for each video. For my sake as well as yours. Like, it's my opinion that we all have other things we need to do. I know I have other things I need to do. But I love making these tapes for you. And like I've said before, my mind is constantly going. I just sit there with my notebook and I write stuff down. So that was August 11th when Captain Brown from the Nevada County Sheriff's Department said the words that the California fire was helping with the search for Kylie. I don't need to say anything else about what I think the implication is there with this whole picture and where we're at right now, do I? I don't think I do. Anyway, the big thing for me was that I don't believe they ever released an Amber Alert. If they did, it was very late in the game. And why wouldn't they? We had a 16-year-old missing. Why would they think up front, oh, not an abduction, when you can't find the car, you can't find the 16-year-old, and you can't find them? Why would you think that's not an abduction? I mean, sure, you could argue why you might not think it was an abduction, but I don't believe the FBI would have gotten involved at the outset if there wasn't reason to think that it was an abduction. And why wouldn't you? A couple of things that I've left out intentionally whenever I speak to this case is SA. I do not like the idea of it. I don't like to say it. I don't like to think about it. I don't think any of us do. But when you're looking at somebody like Kylie, who's gone missing from a party, wearing a cute little outfit with a, grommet belt and a thong leotard and, just looking like a hot mama, it's always been my opinion that probably everybody at that party wanted to sleep with her, male or female. I mean, these days, the kids are all, doing their own thing, right? Gender is very fluid. And this whole vibe with Sammy and Kylie, I've always wondered if Sammy wanted Kylie or had a thing for her. I hope to God that she was not assaulted in that way. But it seems like the probability is high, just based on other crimes, similar missing persons cases. It's just something I absolutely hate to speculate on, and I'm really shy about speculating on it because there hasn't been much to go on for that. There was all that horrible crap and nightmare with the thing that I don't want to say about multiple essays. And that may or may not be the case. I mean, it's possible, that Kylie was used and abused before being put in the water or before getting into the water, however it happened. I'm really sorry to say it. As you can see, it makes me very emotional. I think it's the rudest, most disgusting thing in the world. Like, going back to that story In Cold Blood, you guys are probably familiar with Capote, Truman Capote, and his story that he wrote in Cold Blood in like 1959. It was cutting edge at the time. It was one of the first like it. And then there was a movie made about it at the time. And then there was a movie made not that long ago, a remake of it. One of the things with the killer in that story, his name was Perry, for those who know the story. There were two guys, and Perry was kind of the brains behind the multiple homicide. It was a family of 4 that was murdered in cold blood. And one of the things that he couldn't stand about the person that he was running with was that the person that he was running with had no control over himself sexually. And Perry was absolutely disgusted by that. He grew up in a weird household where things like that were happening while he was in the room. I mean, I don't know if it ever happened to him. That's not really disclosed, but he was a young person who kind of had a young criminal who had high standards. So in the story, in the book and in the movie, he killed the teenage girl in that family. She was the first one to be murdered, I believe, because the person that he was committing the crimes with basically said he was going to sexually assault her. And Perry blew her brains out. Like, that was what triggered him. And then they subsequently killed the other 3 people in the family, the brother, the mother, and the father. It's a horrible story, but I bring it up because of the sexual assault nature. I mean, that's how I feel about sexual assault. I feel like it is so disgusting that I almost think that Perry's action was justified to protect this girl from that horror. I mean, it's just the grossest thing in the world. It's absolutely disgusting. So I'm glad that I shared that with you, as awful as it is. I mean, it just makes me want to hurl. And unfortunately, it's part of our culture that a lot of women experience this. And it's not talked about. And it's common. And, from the outset, this whole case with Kylie, people were looking at, well, was she maybe given the date rape drug because people wanted to get it on with her without her consent, right? I mean, that's disgusting, and it happens commonly. And people that are victimized like that are usually too ashamed to bring it up. It's very hard to talk about, especially when you don't remember. And, just so much other garbage with it. So on that, I'm going to wrap this up. Where are we at? 33 minutes again? So I know, I like what CNY just said. It's so sick. And Dodging Bullets says lots of boys as well. Good point, Dodging Bullets. Absolutely. Boys are victimized as well. It's even harder for boys to bring it up. It's even harder for boys to articulate it or to admit it to themselves. That movie, The Prince of Tides, with Nick Nolte and Barbara Streisand, that's what that was about. I know that was a book too, but I didn't read the book. I only saw the movie, and it's just horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying, but it's a very good point. I'm glad that somebody said that, because it happens to males not as much as it happens to females, but in some ways I think it's even more damaging for guys. It's just damaging. It's just dreadful. And I hate to think that Kylie had to deal with that at the end of her days on this earth. I mean, to me, there's nothing worse. But I guess what's worse is that she didn't survive it, if that is what happened. And I'm not saying it did. I do not know. I don't have that information. I pray to God that it's not what happened. On that, I'm going to say, drink your water, eat your fruits and vegetables, do your kickboxing. stay strong, be able to defend yourself physically as well as psychologically. Um, whatever exercise it is that you like to do, or if you don't exercise, just start small. Just start with some light stretches or walking, simple things. And if you do exercise a lot, you know what I'm talking about. Just getting back to the simple things is always good, right? So I'm going to say peace out, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a great afternoon, you guys. Thank you so much. Keep it up. And end.